ESPN put out an article where they define each team's season with one specific stat. Of course, this one surrounds LaMelo Ball. Moussa Diabate gets cut from the French national team, but he is focusing on his time with the Hornets. And should Tidjane Salaun go in the top 20 of a potential redraft of that selection process? We'll get to all of it today. Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. I'm Walker Mail. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Go listen to Doug on Locked On NBA, too. I don't know why I didn't give any love to Locked On NBA there. I just didn't. Apologies to Matt Moore and apologies to Hayes. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season, it's around the corner. It's basically here. We already have angry texters on the world famous WFNZ FanDuel text line. Actually, it is the FanDuel text line. People are mad because of the Panthers taking out the starters after 2 terrible drives against the Texans. Anyways, it's here. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets. Now, yeah, you have the icky stat there. Ike Ekwonu looked pretty icky in that game against the Texans for any Panthers fans out there. Anywho, let's get to the stat. LaMelo Ball in the news, in the aggregation world, if you will. Not the news, but in the aggregation world, with ESPN writing an article. Really cool article, actually. I encourage everybody to go check it out. It's a piece about a stat that will define each team's season. And again, this one involves LaMelo Ball. And the stat that will define this season, a number that will define this season for Charlotte, Doug, it's 35.9%. Why, you ask? Well, they tell you that LaMelo Ball led the league with 35.9% usage rate this past season, the 23rd highest single season mark ever. Historical territory. Typically, players with such heavy workloads are superstars putting up big numbers. 19 of the 22 players ahead of LaMelo made an All-NBA team in the season in question. The exceptions are DeMarcus Cousins, the year that he was traded from the Kings to the Pelicans, Jermaine O'Neal, the year that he was suspended following the malice at the Palace, and Michael Jordan in his first Wizards season.
MJ, the GOAT.
Yes. You know what? Great spin zone. Not great examples, but great spin zone. Even if Ball had played enough games to qualify for All-NBA consideration, he wouldn't have come close. His PER, player efficiency rating, was the worst for any player with a 35% usage rate in NBA history. Factor in his frequent injury absences, and it's unclear if Ball is still a franchise player the Hornets should build around, or rather a ball-dominant entertainer who doesn't win games. Is he a winning player? Is LaMelo a winning player? Look, we have to end on some kind of hot take. I get it. But the stuff before that, I guess, is interesting context to put the 35.9% usage rate in. What do you make of all of that?
LaMelo Ball is a complicated player to analyze because I think he does things on the floor that I would say 95+% of players can't do on the floor. Like, he hits shots that a lot of players can't hit, and he gives your team advantages that a lot of players cannot give you. And Charles Lee will say the same thing. Steve Clifford said the same thing. So in that way, in the way in which he gives you advantages that not many players can give you, he can help your team win. He can also help your team lose. And that is, I think, what this stat is hitting at a little bit, is that if you have a player who can do things on really 2 extremes, the one extreme helps your team tremendously to win basketball games, and the other extreme, where he's making backbreaking turnovers, fouling out of games, and generally not managing the game well, can actually help your team lose in pretty significant ways. If that player is generating league lead, if that version of that player is generating league leading usage, it's going to provide for some interesting results for your team. And so I think what LaMelo Ball, and I'm sure the coaching staff, everyone is focused on, how do we put players around LaMelo Ball that are playing efficiently enough such that LaMelo Ball doesn't have to be league leader in usage? And how do we work on parts of LaMelo Ball's game? How does LaMelo work on parts of LaMelo Ball's game so that things even out, so that it isn't such like, wow, that was amazing. Wow, that was backbreaking.
Yeah, I have a stat. To define the season. What about assist to usage rate? That's what I want to look at for LaMelo, because last year it was the worst he's ever put up, Doug. Yep. It was actually in the 40th percentile at 1.05. The previous year, it was 1.11. The year before that, and so on, 1.09, 1.13, 1.16. Now, he's never been above the 55th percentile in the league, but it was the lowest it had ever been last year in the 40th percentile. What if, because this is a team that actually has shot makers around them and just more talent in general, what if that starts to go up because of a couple things? One, you can just depend on the talent that you're throwing the basketball to, and LaMelo is a little less hesitant to give that basketball up, whether it be because of coaching, whether it be because of his own decision-making prowess. I'm really looking at that assist to usage ratio. That's what I would like to see go up, because the overall usage percentage is also maybe even coming down. And I've gone to this angle a million times when defending LaMelo, but I really do think if we examine all of the context for each of those examples given, for LaMelo's reason that he's here, right? It's not just because LaMelo is not a winning basketball player. We weren't saying that about Jermaine O'Neal, Malice at the Palace. Maybe you were saying that about DeMarcus Cousins with his personality, but also he was in a terrible situation with the Kings, and then he gets traded to the Pelicans, and now you're just trying to find a new lay of the land. And MJ with the Wizards, yeah, okay, his context is that he was smoking cigars and maybe even drinking tequila, and then he comes back and plays for one of the worst basketball teams in the league. So LaMelo's is like a mixture of playing for one of the worst basketball teams in the league. Oh, and that team that already wasn't projected to finish in the postseason, that team lost everybody. And so who else do you want shooting those shots? It always comes down to that, Doug. So that's why I'll just go ahead and give you a new stat that I think is going to define the Hornets season is the assist to usage ratio going to go up for LaMelo now that he has more talent around him, certainly since the All-Star season that he had his sophomore campaign.
And in that All-Star season, he still led the team in usage. It was just at just north of 30% instead of 37 or 35.9.
Yeah, it's such a big increase. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was massive. And in that same year, Miles Bridges had an amazingly efficient offensive season. Terry Rozier played well. And so if you look at the plus minus offensively for the team, this past season when he had the record usage, the team was plus 11 better offensively when LaMelo Ball was on the floor when he wasn't. In that All-Star season, that second season, and in his Rookie of the Year campaign, they were plus 2 better with him on the floor. And it wasn't that LaMelo played worse. It's that everybody else played better during that time than they did last season because there wasn't as much talent on the roster last season. So this is it's a complicated issue, but bottom line is that, yes, the team has a responsibility to put better talent around LaMelo. Also, LaMelo has to play better basketball than he did last season. He has to play more efficient basketball. He has to play smarter basketball. He has to stay on the floor more often. I mean, all of those things can be true because when you're paying a guy as much money as the Charlotte Hornets are investing, percentage of cap, just forget the overall number, and just percentage of cap going towards LaMelo Ball, that player needs to be in the conversation of all NBA because all the money that's going to him, you cannot disperse that money down to other role players that could help your team, right? So that player has to take on that responsibility to be at an all-NBA level, or the Hornets long-term are not going to be a successful basketball team. That's bottom line stuff.
Last thing on this before we can talk about the talent on the roster with Tidjane Salaun certainly coming up next. If this team is so offensively focused, then you do want to see LaMelo's numbers go up because everybody else is so much better around him. Because we're not talking about this team being better around him with the defensive prowess that they bring. That's not the reason why. So if you are such an offensive-centric team and you're hoping the way that you compete, that you're hoping to get to be a top 10, top 8 offensive squad in the entire league. Like that's I don't know how lofty that is. Like maybe you just lean all the way into it and you give up 120 points. I don't know how much of that is by design, how much of that is just because we don't have any other options. But yeah, especially because of the way that you built your team this offseason, that's why we're hoping a lot of those offensive stats get better for LaMelo and everybody involved. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Speaking of wanting the stats to get better, Tidjane Salaun, we'd love to see it. Still young, still raw. We'll see exactly what's going to happen for him going into year 3, going into year 2. All of it, just the future for Tidjane. But Sam Vecenie didn't even have Tidjane in his top 20 in a redraft. Was he right? We'll get to it in just a moment. LOH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions. Goodness gracious. Who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off,
Panthers.
This is your moment. Yeah, maybe you like the Carolina Panthers. Been listening to a couple national pods that say, hey, in the division, maybe the Panthers aren't so far off from the Falcons.
Starting
you
to
would pick
wake
Carolina to leapfrog Atlanta. And then at that point, could you compete with Tampa by any Tampa's probably a little lofty. But Panthers wild card spot, it could happen. Visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your futures bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only, August 26th. FanDuel, play your game. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Tidjane Salaun. Interesting character, interesting player that guy is. Coming into a second summer league session, we like mostly what we got from that second summer league session, but still there was some stuff to be desired there. His rookie season as a top 6th overall selection, you would expect him coming in to get a lot of run as a top 6 player, except Tidjane isn't like your typical 6th overall selection. So then we thought, well, okay, we'll adjust. He'll probably see a decent amount of time in Greensboro, but then all of the injuries happen. So then he gets more minutes than we expected for Tidjane Salaun specifically. And a lot of it was bad. We can feel better about how he improved in the second half of the season, the last quarter of the season. You could see him slow down. You could see the game slow down for him. As much as we overuse that term, it really did seem to happen, even in fast break opportunities, instead of just going to the rim like a bull in a china shop. He said, hey, maybe I don't break the plates if I slow just a little bit and then wait for these guys to trail. I can hit them for some assists, and he would do that every once in a while. Overall, Doug, your thoughts on Tidjane Salaun and your thoughts on Sam Vecenie not selecting Tidjane Salaun in a redraft, not selecting him in the top 20. Was that the right idea?
Yeah, shout out to Yo-Yo, one of the sickos in the sicko brigade. Join subtext.com/Locked On Hornets if you want to sign up to be a sicko in the sicko brigade and submit your question. Yo-Yo writes this: Sam Vecenie just redrafted 2024 on The Athletic. Salaun not in the top 10. Is it time to call that a huge miss by our new leadership? Sam has Donovan Clingan 5th. Our guys passed on him. It looks bad now, especially given the Hornets' incredibly weak center rotation. These redrafts are always interesting to me because I'm not sure if they are ranking players or if they're really trying to get in the minds of a GM and redraft. Because I think he certainly is not going to go 6th because, look, there were good players. Jalen Wells jumped up. He was a second-round pick. I mean, there are legitimate players that surprised. Jared McCain at 16 going 3rd here. You would have knocked him down for sure. But at the same time, I think a GM doing a redraft of 2024 would still take a flyer on Tidjane Salaun because of the physical gifts and just seeing what he can do running up and down the floor. You go, yeah, that guy could be something crazy someday. But obviously, it's not happening super quickly. No one said it would. I mean, that was the whole idea. And I get Yo-Yo bringing up Clingan because the Hornets are weak at the center position. But they were also eyeing Dalton Knecht, and Knecht's not on this board either. He drops all the way down. He does get a mention by Sam Vecini at the bottom. That's the thing. Like Sam Vecini, I don't think he even wrote Salaun's name down on this list.
There's not a mention of Salaun in this piece.
That makes sense, though, right? Because he has not been a factor at all for a Charlotte Hornets team. Here's the unfair part of it. Because you say, like, the Hornets won 19 games. How is a rookie that was selected 6th overall not a factor at all on a team that only won 19 games? That bad. And the answer is that they have Miles Bridges locked in at the 4. They had Grant Williams for a section of the season before he got hurt. And then Moussa Diabate came on. And so all of those factors led to, well, we don't exactly know where to play Tidjane Salaun. We want to make sure we're giving him the best opportunity to succeed. And so he doesn't get playing time. He doesn't get significant playing time until later on in the season. So that's the difficult part of all of this. We're still in wait and see mode. Nothing has changed for me since draft night. And obviously, if he can't fight his way into the rotation this season, then you start to sweat a little bit for sure.
Yeah, you do, even if we... it's tough to remind yourself, right? I mean, when I talk about needing to be patient with Tidjane over the course of a long time, I even tell myself we need to wait till even year 3 to get the fruits of this draft pick, because we all knew we were in for a rough ride at the beginning, and we got a rough ride last year. If advanced metrics tell you a pretty terrible story of how inefficient he was offensively. He's also playing on a bad team, and that can't help him just because he gets a whole lot of run. He's getting a lot of run with the guys that are supposed to be in the G League themselves. So now not only you might get your mentorship on the sideline, but you're not getting your mentorship out there on the court, because instead you have a bunch of dudes that are in the G League as well that they don't know how to tell you anything. In fact, they're trying to figure it out themselves. And so there are some ways to defend Tidjane in this case. But like if you were to ask me, would I take Salaun in a redraft in the top 6? Like, no. I probably wouldn't, to be honest with you. I probably wouldn't. But I also knew that I wouldn't at the end of this year, probably when you drafted him at number 6 overall in the present time, right? We might have even talked about that, Doug. I might have even said, hey, at the end of this year, people are going to be taking victory laps on whether Tidjane was the wrong pick or not, and they're going to be saying you could have taken this one. I think I even remember outright saying that on one of the many episodes that we've done. I might have even referenced on the redrafts, they're not going to have Tidjane go 6th overall on the redraft. So yeah, it's scary because you just want to see the hit as soon as possible, and you can remind yourself that you have to be patient all you want to. It's still scary, but it's also true. You do have to be patient with him if you do want to see him hit. And Steve Clifford mentioned it. A bunch of guys have mentioned it. So he's not in the top 20 for the Sam Vecini thing, and he's not mentioned even an honorable mention.
To me, it's not about the center position. It's not about Klingon. The Hornets can go and find a Klingon somewhere at some point. I don't think, he's a good player, but I don't think he's going to be an all-star. So like they can go and find a Klingon at some point. I think they're going to get killed if Tidjane doesn't come. They're going to get killed for not taking Buzelis, because I thought even at the time, I think you can go and pull the tape. I thought it was a good fit, and I like Buzelis.
We were both Buzelis guys. I liked Buzelis too.
He looks really good. I think he has all-star potential. I don't know if he's going to get there. It's still a question mark for me, but certainly is showing flashes of that. I don't think I take him over. I think I take Tidjane rather than Ron Holland. I think I take him over Zach Edey. Jalen Wells
goes 7 in this redraft, by the way.
No, I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking at the redraft right now. I'm kind of going down the list. So Ron Holland, I take Tidjane over Ron Holland. I take him over Edey because again, I'm taking the same thing. I'm making the same judgment that they made at the time, which is I'm going to go for the upside swing. I might miss, but I'm going to bet that I can go and get a Zach Edey or I can go and get a Ron Holland at some point if I need one in trade or free agency. There are certain kinds of players you cannot go and acquire if they end up hitting. Now, Jalen Wells, I'm not going to count that because, again, that was so deep. That's pick number 39. Like, that's not even the same. Kel'el Ware, I could make an argument for Kel'el Ware over Tidjane Salaun for sure. So there are picks, but it's not as easy as saying, well, they absolutely should not have gone Tidjane Salaun 6. I still think that was a pretty good gamble in a draft where it was a lot of question marks.
Yeah, but just to put it simply, next year's redraft of the 2024 draft class will also not look like this. Vecini will change some stuff around next year too, and maybe we do see Salaun in the top 20. And if we do, that means he made a lot of progress, and hopefully, really, really hopefully, he does see himself in the top 20 of all these redrafts. Okay, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
From one Frenchman to the other, Moussa Diabate, cut from the French national team. Then they needed to go back to Moussa Diabate after losing another guy on the roster. But Moussa said, no, I'm actually focusing on my time with the Hornets. I'm focusing on the upcoming NBA season. Let's get to Moussa Diabate discourse coming up next, LOH.
He said no.
Okay, Moussa Diabate, my guy, somebody that I've been pretty in on, man. Like I'm actually zagging while everybody else is zigging on Moussa Diabate. I'm the one with the bold take. I get it. I'm ready to get hurt again, to quote the great Michael Scott, but I'm in on Moussa Diabate. So he was cut from the French national team, and then after injury to the French national team, the head coach reached back out to Moussa to see if he would be open to joining the roster again, and he said no. After I think Vincent Poirier is his name, or Poirier. I apologize if I'm sorry. France head coach Frederic Fatho. I don't know. It's French, and I apologize. I want to get it right, but I don't know how to pronounce it. He said
You're drowning in the sun.
The head coach said we contacted Moussa to replace one of the injured players, but he prefers to focus on his NBA season. He consulted his entourage and made that decision. We took note. Your thoughts on Moussa getting cut initially, but then also saying, you know what, I'm good. I'm not going to come back. Instead, I'm going to focus on this upcoming year.
I freaking love it. I love it on so many levels. I love it on that level of the scorned ex, like, now you want me? Oh, I wasn't good enough then, but now I'm good enough? No, thank you. I love that they also, I don't know what show this was, but they released some video of Moussa working out and working on his dream shake and all of these different post moves. So we get the Tidjane Salaun workout video. Now we've gotten the Moussa Diabate workout video. But I just I thought it was fun for him to go and play internationally, and I would have loved to watch him do the Eurobasket thing. But to have him focusing on the Charlotte Hornets and saying, you know what, I can waste time. I'm probably still not going to get a lot of playing time, because it's not like they were calling him up to be, a starter level player. He was still going to have to fight his way onto the floor. So instead of getting minimal minutes, I'll just get my focus on the team that I'll probably have substantial minutes for because of the center situation, and that's the Charlotte Hornets. I love that. It's just very in line with what we've all seen from Moussa Diabate, which is that he desperately wants to be an NBA player. He shows it every time he walks out onto the floor, and now he's focused solely on that. No injury risk. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm investing in Moussa Diabate this year. I'm putting in my money on Moussa stock, and I don't know if it's going to make me rich. Don't think I'm going to be living in a mansion after investing in Moussa Diabate, but I do think I can get my return on investment and more. I think with Moussa coming in, playing more than the 16 minutes per game that he did last year, cleaning the glass, by the way, that neglects the garbage time stats. So just in the meaningful minutes that you can play in an NBA game, he averaged about 16 of those. That's going to go up, because it should. Given the situation they're in now, unless you trade for a center that we can all feel a little more comfortable with, that should be starting over Moussa. If your competition is rookie Ryan Kalkbrenner, who didn't crazy impress at Summer League, you can like him for a lot of different things, but I don't feel comfortable with him being the starting center. I certainly don't with Mason Plumlee. Moussa's the best option. Just straight up, he's the better basketball player compared to what we've seen last year or no years, because Ryan's a rookie. So Moussa's going to play a lot. And I'm glad that all he does is continue to focus on how he can help the Hornets win basketball games as much as possible. I do value international basketball. I think it's great. I think they all get to mingle with one another, like these highly competitive guys where you're on a team with a Wemby, right? You're on a team with a Nick Batum, just some great minds to pick from on the French national team, or whoever, right? Like the different stars that might be on their national team. But yeah, I'm still glad that Moussa can focus on, okay, like, let me work with Charles Lee. Let me work with some of the position coaches, the rest of the coaching staff to figure out how I can best complement LaMelo and how I can best complement Brandon Miller and can continue to finish a little bit better at the rim. Hey, I had something with that short midge, little push shot on those rolls. Maybe I can continue to focus on that and get that to work even more, because that was in the 60th percentile last year. Okay, we're starting to cook with a little something there. Yeah, baby, I'm all for it as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be looking for from Moussa most, is just how much more comfortable can he look offensively near the post. And that's why that video excited me, because that video was solely focused on working with him in that respect, because I know he is a rabid rebounder. I know what limitations he has at the center position with his size, but I also know that he gets up and blocks shots and he runs the floor and he does things that can make up for some of that size deficiency. I dare to be extremely excited about what Moussa Diabate can bring to this team, and also realistic about who he is and where he can play within the idea of a Charlotte Hornets team that is competing for some kind of play-in or playoff spot. And what I mean by that is I think he can get significant playing time early and be a tone setter and raise the energy level of everyone and just get the season off to a great start, and then settle into some more realistic role if Kalkbrenner comes along or Mason Plumlee plays well, or they find some other center option down the line at the trade deadline. He can settle into some role that is, hey, if someone gets injured, I'm going to come in and really raise the energy level again. Or if you put some shooting around this team, more shooting, then he can play the 4. So I just think he doesn't need to be the starting center long term to be an effective player. You need Moussa Diabates all down from 1 to 11 on your roster in order to win playoff basketball games. So I just see the value in him while being realistic about what he is and what he isn't.
Last thing, when you were on vacation, I hopped on with Josh Lloyd to do the Locked On Fantasy Basketball preview, and the number one question he asked me, the first one to start the show, was about the center rotation. And he discussed it. It was more so focused on Kalkbrenner. And again, this is from a fantasy basketball perspective. Who is the center that fans should possibly be drafting? Outside of the first answer, which is maybe no one. I'm not a huge fantasy basketball guy. So, Moussa Diabate might get you a bunch of rebounds if you're trying to win that category. I don't know. But he was discussing how the Hornets might have the worst center rotation in the league. The only one that comes close, or maybe even beats them, is the Celtics center rotation. So it's the Hornets and it's the Celtics, and those are the two teams. And I would agree with that. I don't disagree, but I talked with him as well about Moussa, and I told him that I had the off the beaten path take about just buying into what Moussa can do this year and pleasantly surprising some guys. But to your point, right? To echo what you're discussing with, when it's time to compete in the playoffs, yeah, you probably need somebody better than Moussa. I think he can carve himself a role on that competitive team to where he still matters. I'm still giving him a contract. But, the starting center for that competitive postseason team, I don't know if he's that. Now, I do think over the course of an 82-game regular season, Doug, I think that guy has a big role, even on that competitive team, playing all those minutes all the time and just being an innings eater. And then when you get to the really hardcore competitive nature of playoff basketball, where you're trying to play matchup-based stuff, that's where a lot of that stuff starts to go out the window. But yeah, over the regular season, I'd value him a ton. So I'm excited about what Moussa can do. I don't have any other choice, but I'm choosing. I'm choosing to be glass half full.
But if you're going to be locked in with someone, why not be locked in with a guy like Moussa Diabate, who again, you are confident he is going to lay every bit of himself out on that floor. That's what they're betting on, and I think they know. I think the organization's not stupid. They know that their center rotation is not up to snuff, and I think they will address it. When they get, they're getting more serious when they get actually serious about making playoff basketball happen in Charlotte. They will get serious about this center rotation. In the meantime, they're betting on someone that is betting on them, that is saying, forget international basketball. I'm focused on the Charlotte Hornets.
Good point. All right, Locked On Hornets, that'll do it for us. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast. That does include YouTube. Doug Branson, everyhornetsboxscore.com, and Locked On NBA. Make that your next listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Again, Doug Branson, go check out his Substack as well. And then put some Sicko Satchel questions in there for us to answer during silly season. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday, Wes and Walker from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.